Hello, everyone. Welcome back to another episode of the Brilliant Professor-ish podcast, where we talk about themes where is life unscripted or life unleashed on so many different levels. I'm your host, Dr. V, and I'm excited to talk about today's episode. I recently watched the documentary Love to Love You, which delved into the life and career of the legendary Donna Summers. If you're new to me, you're probably thinking about what does Donna Summers have to do with life coaching? Well, I watch these incredible stories for practical life lessons, and I come back and share those lessons with you all. So buckle up and get ready for some exciting, entertaining, and thought-provoking discussions. And as always, remember to subscribe to this YouTube channel, hit the notification bell, and leave your comments and thoughts below. We love hearing from you in this amazing community, and we love to ignite conversations that inspire you and help you embrace your uniqueness and lean into the power of reinvention. And that's kind of the theme of this episode. Together, I believe we create positive change in the world, and we do that through our own individual lives. Be sure to check out the corresponding blog post for show notes and highlights, and that information will be in the description below. Now, a few weeks ago, depending on the time of when you watch this episode, I posted on Facebook and Instagram, and you can go check that out at Dr. Vernita Glenn White. If you don't follow me, please do so. That is my invitation. I did a post about with my mom, how she introduced me to Donna Summers, but I only knew about her through her music, and I had no idea what was happening behind the scenes or anything about her journey to stardom. With her ability to change her voice and turn into different characters, I didn't even realize how many of her songs went mainstream and are still being used in some sort of variation today. And that was a gift that Donna Summers had, and I don't think people realize that. I felt a deep connection with Donna Summers as it related to her desire to just sing. While I am not a singer, although I did sing in a choir growing up, I do know what it's like to have a dream and a vision for yourself that is either misunderstood or stifled just to fit into some narrative that someone else created for you. Like previous episodes in this particular series, this is not a reaction or detailed recap of the documentary. While I do share some examples, I invite you to go watch the full episode for yourself on HBO if you have that available to you. Most people remember Donna Summers as either the queen of disco or the first lady of love, but there is so much more to learn from the legend and legacy of Donna Summer. So let's get into these life points. So the first one we're going to talk about is embrace your uniqueness. Donna Summer, with her powerful voice and magnetic stage presence, stood out from the crowd. I know people talk about Whitney Houston, Michael Jackson, and Mariah Carey, or insert your favorite person, but Donna Summers definitely had an unmatched voice as well. She wasn't afraid to be herself and express her individuality. The documentary showed clips of her live performances, and she was definitely a one-woman show. Even big stars today don't captivate audiences in the same way. These people were like in a trance every time she hit the stage. In her earlier days, I would describe her voice more like a siren, and it definitely had that impact of one. And you know what I'm talking about if you're into Greek mythology. Now, in our own lives, it's crucial to celebrate and embrace our unique talents, gifts, and perspectives. I hope that you don't shy away from what makes you different, because that's the point. It's time for you to shine if you're doing that. However, I do understand that in a world that often pressures us to conform and fit into predefined molds, embracing our uniqueness can be a radical act of self-acceptance. I know many of us like to think we are fully confident and accepting of ourselves, but if we were, it wouldn't be such a huge challenge for us to question societal expectations and norms. Now, I invite you to take a moment to reflect on your own life. Are you truly embracing and celebrating your unique qualities, or do you find yourself conforming to others' expectations? Now, this is nothing to be embarrassed about. We've all conformed in some way before and probably doing it in some way. But the bigger issue comes from not being self aware or operating in a state of denial. Like, oh, that's not me. I'm always myself. That's not true. Or you would be where you want to be in life. But I digress. So, embracing your uniqueness means acknowledging and honoring your authentic self. And you will notice a trend as I continue in this series, even if it means standing out or going against the grain. But as humans, it is our nature to want to belong. So our brains will fight us to keep us safe. And oftentimes that means burying many of our unique qualities. And I want you to know today that is just a trick of our mind. And we're not supposed to bury what's special and unique about ourselves. So when we do ignore our uniqueness and conform to societal expectations, we risk losing our true sense of self. We may find ourselves living a life that doesn't align with our authentic desires and values. This can lead to a deep sense of dissatisfaction, inner conflict, and a lack of fulfillment. I believe a lot of depression and anxiety and some disease come from suppressing our deepest desires and creativity. Now, I am a doctor, but I'm not a medical doctor. However, I have done my research, spent hours documenting my own self, as well as documenting the ways that I work with clients and talking with other coaches who work with people with quote unquote success blocks. While there is a place for medical intervention, hear me when I say there is a place for medical intervention, I do believe that a lot of our issues can start now don't misquote me, start being resolved through creative expression and self-exploration. But ignoring our uniqueness also stifles creativity and hinders our ability to contribute our unique perspectives and talents to the world. And if you keep it locked up, that energy has to go somewhere, and it's often not in the positive direction. So the next life point I want to talk about is Donna Summer's persistence, because persistence does pay off. Donna Summer's journey to success was not a smooth one, but who really has had a smooth ride to the top? If you know some people, drop their names down below so I can go research them. She faced numerous rejections, setbacks, and challenges along the way. However, she persisted, working hard and refining her craft. I believe many of us are persistent up until a certain point. We are persistent in our zones of excellence, things that come easier to us. However, it's when we start to tap into our zone of genius, the space where we meet our untapped potential, that we slack in the persistence area. It's a powerful reminder that success often requires persistence and the willingness to keep going even when faced with obstacles. As many high achievers and top performers, we've gotten to a point where we don't like obstacles because in our minds, things have come so easily to us, but we forget that we persisted along the way. So when life throws curveballs and hits you head on, or sometimes in the face, it is important to know that we have to keep pushing forward even in the pain. But we live in an era of instant gratification where we expect quick results and immediate success. But that isn't always a bad thing. And I think instant gratification gets a bad rap sometimes. Like when we go to the grocery store, or when I go to the grocery store, I want my groceries immediately, right now, when I'm in there. Otherwise, I would just wait and order them. Also, there's a reason why fast food places exist. It's instant gratification. However, the truth is that real achievements often require time, effort, and persistence. Challenging your thinking here in this area means questioning the temptation to give up too soon or become discouraged by setbacks. It's important to know that quitting can be overlooked by the high achiever, or what I like to say, super succeeder. When we quit, people often buy our quote unquote sexy excuses, and we get to put the task off and say that, oh, we just don't have time to do that. But I want you to ask yourself, am I willing to put in the necessary effort and stay committed to my goals, even when progress seems slow or obstacles arise? Remember, persistence is often the key that unlocks the doors to success. But without persistence, dreams and goals remain unrealized. Now, I'm not talking about regular success. Donna Summer had success, but she wanted to tap into another level of singing. And that took persistence because that's when the real challenges tend to show up. When we give up too easily or lack the perseverance to overcome obstacles, we miss out on opportunities for growth and achievement. Now, this is tricky because many of us have achieved great things, but what if there were other things we were meant to achieve we know nothing about? Lack of persistence often leads to regret and a sense of unfulfilled potential. Without the willingness to persist, we find ourselves settling for mediocrity and never reaching our true potential. So, don't get comfortable with comfortable success. Our next life point that we're going to talk about is the power of reinvention. And looking at Donna Summer, she reinvented herself multiple times. She explored different musical genres and she experimented with new sounds and how she was going to show up on stage. This willingness to evolve and adapt helped her to stay relevant and maintain her artistic integrity. I'm sure you've heard the phrase, if it ain't broke, don't fix it. But that shouldn't always apply to the different areas of our lives. There are a lot of things in the world that aren't broken, but constantly receive upgrades and enhancements. So, why should we as living beings be any different? In our own lives, it's important to embrace change, take risks, and be open to new possibilities. Embracing reinvention can lead to personal growth and exciting new opportunities. But of course, this isn't always easy. We throw around the word growth, and you will hear me to continue to say things like personal growth, personal development, personal mastery. But we forget that this is often an uncomfortable and sometimes painful process. Everybody wants to grow, but not everyone wants to put the work in. And I want you to know that it really does take courage to reinvent yourself. Society often labels us and puts us in boxes, encouraging us to stick to one path or one type of identity. In some cases, that was needed when we all started to learn things because that helps us to understand what we like and what we don't like. And there's nothing wrong with structure or following a defined path in the beginning. It's when we stay on these paths for too long and we begin to take on an identity of these paths that we don't let go of in time. I believe we all get signals and signs to change paths, but it's our identity and beliefs that keep us in the box or on the path that no longer serves us, that do us the most harm. However, by embracing the power of reinvention, we get to challenge those limiting and outdated beliefs. So I want you to consider this. Have you ever fallen into a comfort zone, or do you fear change? And it's okay. Like I said, this is a safe space if I didn't say that before, because we've all done it. However, I invite you to ask yourself, am I open to exploring new opportunities, even if it means venturing into unfamiliar territory? Now, you may not ask yourself the question in those exact words, so feel free to paraphrase it to make it so it makes more sense to you. But here's the interesting thing. Most of us have explored new opportunities, taken risks, and stepped into unfamiliar territories before. That's how you've accomplished your current level of success. So, what's different now? Well, the answer can be different for everyone, but I will say many of us feel as if we have more to lose at this current stage than we did before, and we built a layer of protection around the risk. But that doesn't make any sense either. We want protected or comfortable risk, and that doesn't exist. So, embracing reinvention allows us to discover new passions, unlock hidden talents, and lead more fulfilling lives, but only if we develop a better and healthier relationship with change and risk. Resisting reinvention, however, and staying within our comfort zones can lead to stagnation and missed opportunities. How often have you said, well, if it's for me, then it will be? And in many cases, I'm going to call you out and say, that's a cop out. Now, I'm not talking about the times when you go after opportunities and you don't get them. You did take the leap, in fact. But even in that, we still have to ask, was the leap big enough? There's so much to discuss about that, but I'll say that for another topic of discussion on another episode. So I want to get back to this, so stay on track. Come back to me. When we don't look for ways to reinvent ourselves, we may find ourselves trapped in unfulfilling careers, relationships, or even routines that no longer serve us. The world is constantly evolving, and failing to adapt and reinvent ourselves can leave us feeling obsolete and disconnected. We see this happening with big companies all the time. One famous situation is Blockbusters, who I think is planning a comeback, if you ask me. They were the juggernauts in the movie rental industry, and they failed to reinvent their model when new technology came out. And that's how we ended up with Netflix. Now, don't quote me on this, but I think there was a conversation at the Blockbuster headquarters about taking the time to reinvent their approach. And they thought this was a new way of renting movies that would pass, like it was a passing trend. And we see the rest is history, or the rest is current, or however you want to say it. It's important to know that our reinvention doesn't guarantee major success or life altering events. Sometimes reinvention does fail. So if you think about Apple, they reinvent products all the time, and many of them never make it to the market, or they don't produce the results they were hoping for. But that doesn't stop them from being on the verge of innovation. Food chains reinvent items that fail all the time, but they go back to the drawing board. We have to have the same approach to our reinvention. Embracing change and reinvention allows us to stay relevant, discover new passions, and lead more fulfilling lives. So let me know your thoughts about that down below as we move on to the next life point. The documentary Love to Love You with Donna Summer, it challenged us to look at her life and how she was managing fame and her personal life. Being in the public eye can be demanding, and it's crucial to find a balance between career aspirations and personal well being. And when I say balance, I don't mean the typical quote unquote work life balance we usually hear about. This is more about using that same energy and drive to grow your professional life, to also grow and learn about who you are in other areas of your life. It's more about intentionality and intensity, that type of balance. So you're probably thinking that you're not famous, so this doesn't apply to you. Oh, but it does. You're probably the rock star at your business or in your social circle. And it takes effort and energy to, one, be at the top, and then for two, to stay at the top. I started a Facebook group called the Lopsided Achievers. And I'm working on building it back up, and I may change the name. I don't know. And that's where people focus so much on their professional lives that they ignore their personal lives. And this doesn't have to be the case, but it's something many of us need to recover from. Hence why I call it the Lopsided Achiever Recovery Group. So it's important to remember to prioritize self-care, set boundaries, and nurture your relationships outside of work. Fame is success. And I say fame because I have people who are listening to me who want to be famous. So let's not all pretend that don't nobody want to be famous. Some of us do. So fame and success should never come at the expense of your happiness or your mental health. And we see that happening in the documentary with Donna Summer. In our fame obsessed, or we could say success obsessed culture, we often idolize celebrities and desire their level of recognition. The same is true in any industry, though. It's easy to say, oh, that's not me. But many of us work to accomplish things to have a level of recognition. Otherwise, we wouldn't post on social media, we wouldn't seek promotions, or we wouldn't even feel good when people give us praise. On the other side of that, some of us tend to downplay those desires because we know that the reality behind the glitz and glamour, the position, or the title can be challenging and demanding. And if we don't understand the balance of having these desires but maintaining who we are, we self-sabotage, and it slowly creeps up into our everyday lives. But challenging our thinking in these areas involves questioning the allure of fame and success and reflecting on your own priorities. Now, I like to invite you to do things. So I invite you to ask yourself, what truly matters to me in life? Am I willing to set boundaries and prioritize my well-being, relationships, and personal happiness over external validation? Remember, true fulfillment comes from within, not from the applause of others. You know when you've achieved that level of harmony, when you feel satisfied with your work, even if no one sees it, likes it, comments, or give you any praise about it. However, Ignoring the need for harmony between our personal lives and external success can have a detrimental effect on our well being. Without setting boundaries and prioritizing self care, our mental and physical health may suffer. My mother passed away from cancer. Now, I'm not a medical doctor, as I said before, and I don't know the scientific reason why she got cancer twice, but from my own observation and knowing what I know now, I believe part of her disease came from stress and another part came from not living to the fullest version of herself in other areas of her life. She was a great mom, an amazing employee, and a devoted ministry leader in church. However, she didn't allow herself to pursue her passions to the fullest, and her creativity was often stifled. She didn't put the same level of energy into her dreams and desires that she did for others. And like I mentioned before, energy has to go somewhere if it's not expressed, and it can show up in many different forms. We can say that we don't need external validation, but how many of us don't do things because we think people won't like it or won't say anything? That's another way we hold ourselves back. And I say that this is another way of neglecting self care. Self care isn't all about massages, me days, or pampering. It's also about discovering new things about yourself beyond your fame or success and nurturing your inner self. But I digress because a lot of people like, oh, me day, it's self-care, but you don't know like your core values or you don't take time to learn about yourself. All right, moving on. So, neglecting a relationship with yourself can lead to loneliness and a lack of meaningful connections. Over time, the pursuit of external validation and fame without balance can leave us feeling empty, disconnected, and overwhelmed. So, to tie this section up with a nice, pretty bow, validate yourself first, personally and professionally, and the harmony that's needed will come. Now, our last life point, overcoming adversity. Donna Summer faced her fair share of personal and professional challenges, including financial difficulties, illness, and controversies. However, she showed resilience and found the strength to rise above these adversities. Life can throw and will throw unexpected curveballs, but it's how we respond and learn from them that truly defines us. When faced with challenges, this is the time to tap into your inner strength and remember that you do have the power to overcome anything. When faced with adversity, it's easy to succumb to negative self doubt or a victim mentality. Challenging your thinking in this area means reframing adversity as an opportunity for growth and resilience. Ask yourself, how can I reframe challenges as stepping stones rather than stumbling blocks? Yes, I want you to think about it that way. And then ask yourself, how can I tap into my inner strength and find the silver lining in difficult situations? Now, the reason why I am proposing these questions like this is because a lot of times the quality of the answer that we want is determined by the quality of question. So if you want to rephrase the questions, make sure you go a step above what I asked, but don't make it so simple or okay, I hate to say it, but don't dumb it down because you want to get a quality answer. And your inner self knows it, but you have to know how to ask yourself the right questions. All right. Overcoming adversity is not about denying the pain, but rather acknowledging it and using it as fuel for personal growth and empowerment. When we refuse to face and overcome adversity, we risk becoming victims of circumstances. We find ourselves trapped in a cycle of negativity, self-pity, and helplessness. Failing to confront and learn from challenges prevents personal growth and resilience. I made a video about operating from a place of learned victim mentality, and this is what it looks like. Before you bring up that there are real victims, I'm not talking about them. There are people who don't have any control over their circumstances. While they too must learn how to overcome adversity, their approach may be different. However, there is a group of us, if we're honest, who have a tendency to lay down and wallow in the setbacks, and we don't put forth real effort to overcome or take the time to learn from the challenges. In that video, you will hear about how I operated in this state of learned victim mentality. It doesn't do myself or anyone around me to stay in this state. If you believe it, adversity can be a catalyst for transformation and inner strength. but only if we're willing to confront it head on and use it as a stepping stone rather than some sort of insurmountable barrier that we can't overcome. Now, we're going to talk about some unpopular opinions that was inspired by the Donna Summer documentary. So in the area of instant fame and viral sensations, we often forget the value of patience in honing our craft. I will admit that transitioning to full-time entrepreneur and life coach, I expected things to jump off immediately because I had immediate success in different levels in my career. But that wasn't necessarily true. I spent over a decade working on my writing skills, my presentation skills, and my teaching craft so that it would look effortless by the time I became a college professor. Sometimes hindsight causes us to forget the seasons of preparation because success is often the last thing we see in our rearview mirror. Donna Summer spent years perfecting her skills, performing in small clubs, and struggling to make ends meet. And at this moment, I have to build my coaching and CEO muscles, and that takes a little time. And I have to remember that even though I'm not starting from the bottom, I am starting at a new space, and that is a learning curve. And a lot of times as super succeeders, we don't like learning curves. But today, many aspiring artists, career professionals, entrepreneurs, creators, insert whatever, expect overnight success without putting in the necessary work and dedication. So my unpopular opinion is this. Let's not get caught up in the manic manifestation conversations or the 20 to 30 something multimillionaires who were created in a year or two, or even the CEOs who got promoted in 3 years or less. Those are outliers, and we do need to celebrate them. So congrats, people. However, true mastery and lasting success often requires years of mind-shifting work, persistence, and a commitment to constant improvement. I'm working on saying not hard work. You notice I didn't say that because that's relative, and hard work alone does not automatically get you to the levels of success or wealth that you may desire. So let's not forget the importance of a vision, the journey, and the process. By challenging our thinking in these areas, we open ourselves up to new perspectives, personal growth, and more authentic and a fulfilling life. Remember, it's through questioning, reflecting, and embracing uncomfortable truths that we truly expand our horizons and live a life to the fullest. But on the other hand, by ignoring or being unwilling to address these life points, we limit our potential, hinder our personal growth, and sacrifice our overall well-being. Acknowledging and actively working on those areas can lead to more authentic and a more impactful and influential life. But we all have a choice, and we all get the same number of hours in a day. This is when we see who are the true captains of their ships and the masters of their domains. It's crucial to confront these challenges with courage, curiosity, and a willingness to step outside of our comfort zones. Donna Summers did just that. Even though she still struggled in some areas of her life, she chose the path of reinvention and succeeded on her terms no matter what. Are you willing to do the same? I hope you enjoyed our exploration of the life lessons of Donna Summers in the documentary Love to Love You. Remember, embracing your uniqueness, persisting through challenges, reinventing yourself, finding balance, and overcoming adversity are all key ingredients for a fulfilling life. And don't forget to question popular notions and embrace unpopular opinions when they challenge us to think deeper and spark meaningful conversations. It is my hope that something I said provided value, challenged your thinking, or made you say, Let me know your thoughts below to turn this monologue into a dialogue. I can't wait to hear from you. Keep living life unscripted, and remember, your spark is the igniter to someone else's fire. Be well, be empowered, be bold, and be brilliant. Until next time, bye.